Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Conversations from Stritch. My name is Dave Livingston, president of Lewis University, and I'm really excited to be here today. We have a great guest, such exciting things to talk about. I'm joined by Dr. Christopher Sint, our provost, and this episode is really about the beginning of the new school year. We had a great first-year move-in day for all of our new students on Monday. We had a convocation for our employees, faculty, and staff, as well as a first-year convocation on Wednesday, and also an opportunity to take advantage of the Encounter Monument on campus to have our first-year students walk through the Encounter as a part of their kind of first steps on their academic journey here at Lewis. And it was an example for them of kind of inviting them into the Lasallian mission and what we do here. We do have other events besides what we're going to be talking about, so I'm just going to say a few words about our Signum Fidei event, which is going to happen on September 25th, about a month from today. The Signum Fidei Gala, it raises money for really students, some of our neediest students, but really sometimes it's a student that didn't even think that they needed any additional help, and then a parent ends up with a cancer diagnosis and lose their job, or something significant happens in the life of them or their family, and they get to their junior year or senior year and they cannot meet the tuition payments. So we always raise money every year for those situations that come up at the last minute that are complete shocks to the family, and they come to us and they say, I don't know how I'm going to make it through the last 2 years or through the last semester. So we are going to be holding this event at the Westin in Lombard, again on September 25th. And you can attend the event either in person or virtually. We did that last year, and virtually it went really well. We had alumni from all over the country, from California and from, I know we had somebody from Tennessee. So we had people from all over the country who couldn't fly in for the event but wanted to give money to our students who really face those challenging times. So we are going to talk a little bit about some other things and then get to our topic for the week, which is how's this first week been and what's going on next week. But Chris, you have some announcements to make?
Yes, great. Thank you. Great to be here with everyone. And it's great to be on campus. It's with all of the students here doing activities, and we'll be talking about that later with our guest. But we just saw today's sophomore move-in day, so we saw some people moving in as we walked over here today, so it's just beautiful to see. A couple pieces of news and events as the fall semester is getting underway. The Kelleher Research Group, led by Professor of Chemistry, Dr. Jason Kelleher, has signed a research agreement with Erica Inc., an innovative company that specializes in chemical mechanical planarization, known as CMP. The collaboration between Erica and Professor Kelleher's group will focus on the design of novel nanodispersions and associated equipment for that CMP process. It's really big, cool stuff. This will allow students to have access to a unique and high-level research, very rare research that doesn't happen at many major research institutions, with a direct and significant impact, that's making a direct and significant impact on the semiconductor industry. So thank you, Professor Kelleher, for that connection and for doing that great work. Lewis University will host the Disappear Here art exhibition by alum Larissa Barnett coming up soon. I saw when I was just walking through there yesterday and saw that it's installed, but will be on display from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily from August 30th through September 9th in the Brent and Jean Wadsworth Family Gallery, located on our main campus here in Romeoville. As always, it's free, as all of our exhibits, it's free and open to the public. And I think we're going to have some athletic news from you now.
A couple other quick announcements. And I just wanted to note, one, congratulations to Dr. Kelleher from me and all the members of his team. And also thanks to Natalie Swain, who does an amazing job over in the gallery, really getting some of these artists I think most of the time she gets those artists 2 years ahead of time because there's a real desire to be in our gallery, which is great. We get amazing artists.
And also, by the way, this is an incredible artist who is an alum of
Yeah.
Lewis. I mean,
Yeah.
we didn't talk about her biography, but she
No.
has great accomplishments and graduate work in art, so it's great to be highlighting.
And
one
at
of our
some
alums.
point it would probably be good, we usually talk about this offline, but maybe having Natalie on as a guest to talk about maybe the 3 shows of the year at some midway through the year, to just kind of say, what is this gallery about and how do we think about it?
We actually did that once. You're
We
forgetting.
did, but I mean, this year, we should do
Yeah,
it
we
again.
should do it every
and,
year. Yeah, you're
I mean,
right.
it feels like a yearly kind of, because it's such a great, and as well as the theater, we just do a great job with
Yeah,
the arts here
great
at
idea.
at Lewis. So I have a couple announcements about athletics. As we wind up the year and everybody comes back to campus, we of course also have the benefit not only of the arts on campus, which we have many of events, as well as academic events, lectures. We also have athletic events. And I do want to congratulate one of our men's volleyball players, Tyler Mitchum, who was one of only 14 players in the entire country to be chosen to be on the USA volleyball team for the 2021 Men's Norqueca Continental Championships that took place last week in Durango, Mexico. The U.S. team finished 5th in the world at that championship, so congratulations to Tyler. We look forward to seeing you back on campus. You're hard to miss, Tyler, because you're so tall, but we look forward to seeing you back on campus, as well as all of our student athletes as they begin the year. Fall athletics gets started this weekend with the women's soccer team playing a scrimmage against Grand Valley State, as well as against Parkside. The Parkside match will be at noon at the Ludus Stadium this weekend on Saturday. So, it's going to be hot out this weekend, but come out and cheer on our women's soccer team. So, lots has been happening with COVID as well, Chris, and I know you have some announcements that'll also be in your letter to the community today, but it's been a big day actually today around COVID. So what do you have to share with us around COVID?
That's true. So I will make some detailed announcements here that will be repeated in my Thursday email. But before I go through that, I just wanted to say we're aware of Governor Pritzker's announcement today requiring vaccinations and changing some requirements for vaccinations at places that include higher institutions of higher education, universities across the state. So since we have required vaccinations here, it's not a huge shift for us, but we're going to look at the detail of that message and make sure we're in full compliance with it, over the next couple of days. The couple of new announcements or slight shifts that we had planned to make today, also in alignment with the governor's announcement today. And then I just want to have quite a few reminders to give to the community, just to be clear about some things. So as we've talked about, classes being on August 30th, with a few new COVID-19 mitigation measures in place. And so thank you everyone so much for your cooperation and flexibility as we navigate through the pandemic with our community. So face coverings should be worn in public indoor spaces by all individuals, regardless of their vaccination status. So this includes classrooms, meetings, and common areas of residence halls. And I just want to pause there and say that also includes just about any indoor space, and I think the governor's message today reinforces this as well. So a conference room, even if it's all vaccinated employees, for example, needs to, we need to require face coverings in those situations. Like before, like last year, like we've announced earlier, that does not apply to individuals who are alone inside of spaces like offices and so on. Classrooms this year are at their usual capacities, and I just want to clarify that no QR code check-in is required this fall. Cleaning supplies will be available in the classrooms, and faculty members will be required to submit seating charts in order to aid in any potential contact tracing along the semester. So students, please pick carefully when you sit down in the beginning, because that's going to be your seat for the semester. And then a couple of support areas that typically begin in the fall and I want to just say those out loud. The Center for Academic Success and Enrichment case on the third floor of the LRC is open Monday through Friday, starting Monday from 8:30 to 5. Appointments are available outside of those hours as well. So if you have any difficulty getting support from CASE, please just contact them and they will make appointments outside of regular daily business hours. Computer labs are open and accessible this fall to students on the Romeoville campus as well as online. And I will have that way to do it online in my email today. The bookstore's open Monday through Friday, 10 to 5. Also 9 to 1 on this Saturday, August 25th, for students to pick up books before the semester starts. The Recreation and Fitness Center has regular hours 7 days a week, as well as online options for student recreation. And then campus visitors are welcome to attend our events, such as the Art Gallery event. All visitors, including contractors, have to complete the Lewis University Visitor Health Screening form before arriving on campus for any reason, event or otherwise. And so a host of a visitor typically will send that link to the visitors, and it's also on our website and also on the what do we call the digital sign that we drive past when we come onto campus. Also has that announcement in the website address in case someone comes to campus without having gone through that screening. So please visit the master calendar to see updated schedules for events across campus. So vaccinations, reminder, are required of all students and employees of Lewis. All students must submit their proof of vaccination or request an exemption on the Lewis U app or online at the link provided in my email or that you can find on the COVID area of the website. Students who do not submit their vaccination status may be referred to student conduct process, restricted from class or campus, or placed on a registration hold. So please get that done, everyone, before the semester begins. And again, the governor's message today is a further reinforcement of the need to do the vaccination requirement and the importance of satisfying it in order for us to live together in community this fall. So a couple numbers, updating people on the current rates. Full-time employees and graduate student group of the campus, we have a 94% compliance rate and a 90% vaccination rate with that group. Adjunct faculty, an 83% compliance rate and 96% vaccination rate. And students who are attending campus on campus in the fall, a 67% compliance rate and an 87% vaccination rate, with residential students being 91 and 90 in those categories. So again, very high vaccination rates in our community, but there are still members of the community who need to report their vaccination status through the app or through the online site. So a couple of other reminders related to COVID-19 and broader issues. Remember to use the Lewis U app for a whole variety of things, including looking up events for Welcome Week, which we'll get to in a minute, as well as the mandatory processes that we need to go through related to COVID-19, such as submitting your vaccination status, applying for an exemption or a change of status in vaccination. Maybe I'll emphasize that. I know I'm going fast. If you change your vaccination status, if you have reported that you're partially vaccinated and become fully vaccinated, please go back to the app and update that because it feeds into those statistics I was just reporting. Please don't forget to sign the flyer's promise and acknowledgement. The app is the best place to do that. The app can be used to report COVID-19 symptoms or positive test results, regardless of vaccination status. And always, it's a great place to connect with the Lewis University COVID-19 hotline team. If you have any questions or issues related to COVID-19, you can go there, and there also is a phone number and an email for the hotline team on our website, as well as in my email that I'll send out today. can use the app to submit or you should use the app to submit the daily COVID-19 screening if you are unvaccinated. Vaccinated individuals do not have to do the daily screening. And then all unvaccinated resident students do it every day. This is just like last year. If you're unvaccinated, you do the daily screening before coming to campus if you're a commuter or an employee. And if you are living on campus, then you need to do the daily screening every day. So we continue to, and last thing, the COVID hotline team continues to conduct contact tracing under the guidance of the Will County Health Department and in accordance with CDC guidelines. Contact tracing is being conducted for close contacts. Those close contacts who are students, faculty, or staff will receive a notification and guidance about this. It is important to respond to any communication you may receive from the hotline team members. So we actually haven't had any cases. I just want to be clear about that. You know, it's very early in the semester as people are just moving in. But if there are cases, or when there are cases of impacting community members, for any reason, it's imperative that the members of our community respond to the hotline team's request in the contact tracing process. So thanks so much for all of this work and following through on all of these different elements of the Flyers Promise. I know it's a lot, so we're continuing to find our way through it.
Yeah, so a couple quick comments on one. Great numbers in terms of the rate of vaccination. I think we still have a chunk of people that we have to get through the system. For some of them, they just haven't filled out the form. They've already been vaccinated. For some of them, they are going to request an exemption. But I want to say how grateful I am for how that's gone so far. I also want to just make a quick mention that one of the things I've said throughout this whole thing, and you said you're going to explain it more when we get into your letter, but I said we're going to learn from different things. And one of the things we learned is that we can have students who are commuters who can use our computer labs via VPN. And that's kind of what you're going to explain in your, but I just think it's one of those things that some good things have come out of. We've learned a lot of kind of being online and how to do online and how people can go back and forth between in-person and virtual. And I think that's been really good for us. So going back to the vaccine issue, each week we have been giving out prizes for raffle winners in terms of those people that have been vaccinated. And that is something that we're excited about. So I want to, our weekly raffle winners from the students and employees who have submitted their vaccine status. And so I'd like to announce the final list of winners. This is the last.
There's one more week.
One more week. All right, not the final list of winners. That means if you get in, you were available today, but everybody who's vaccinated will have one more shot at it next week, is what Dr. Sin is saying. Next Thursday will be the final time. So this week's winners include Lisa Demas, who won an Amazon gift card, Madison Caputo, who's receiving an iPad 10.2, Ryan Corrigan, who's winning a JBL Flip 5 portable speaker, Avery Delphi, who won an LG 43-inch TV, Haley Irakli, receiving a Sodexo Flyer dollars, and Timothy Eschenberg, who's taking away some athletic swag. The student winners will be contacted through their university email with the prize collection instructions. This week's faculty winner was Ray Klump, and Dr. Ray Klump will be receiving a gift certificate that he can use at the Lewis University bookstore. So one more round of vaccine winners next week. But next week, you'll just know that through email, because next week we are not having a show. We're just going to be out of town, and so Chris and I will not be doing a show, but we'll be back in 2 weeks with a new guest. But I'm going to turn it back over to Chris to introduce our guest, but we're really excited. I guess what I would say, we're so excited about the new year, and our guest today is going to help us to explain about all the exciting things that have been going on over the last week and what's coming over the next few weeks. So, Chris?
Thank you. I'm very pleased to introduce Dr. Kristi Kelly, Vice President for Diversity and Associate Provost for Student Engagement, Equity, and Inclusion on campus. Welcome, Kristi. Great to be with you.
Thank you.
We have been talking about, I think we're trying to get the camera on you in just a minute, but
Okay.
there you are. We have been talking all for the last 15, 20 minutes about how all the exciting stuff going on campus. So we really wanted to talk in more depth with you about what Welcome Week has been like for you, for our students, and so on. So I guess we have people watching who
Yes.
are perhaps new parents or people thinking about coming to Lewis and so on, as well as maybe staff and faculty who don't work directly with Welcome Week. So maybe to begin with, what is it? What goes into planning it?
Absolutely. So, great question. Welcome Week, honestly, is our way in saying welcome to campus, especially for our first year students and our returning students who did not have an opportunity to experience the campus in the traditional sense over the course of last academic year. So it is a collaboration across campus with offices, co-curricular and curricular, who are really excited to see people walking and engaging in across campus.
So give me a sense of, because we always like to also use this opportunity to thank people. So can you give me some sense of the planning that goes in? Because obviously this 2-week period from first year student move-in on Monday, international students coming to campus and all the SOARs that happened over the summer, but especially that last SOAR that happens, sophomore move-in today, and then of course all the activities. I mean, my calendar has all of them on it, and I can barely read my calendar because there's so many activities. But I know from that, because I know how this institution works, that there are hundreds of people behind the scenes that make this possible. So give me a little sense of kind of when did you and your team, your colleagues start planning this? What's it like to plan it? How many people are involved? And how do we get to this great set of activities?
Absolutely, Dave and Chris. We started planning, I'm going to say late May, early June. And it is a host of people across campus. And I much gratitude to offices such as CASE and Academic Services, the library and Andrew's team. I would say faculty who are still on during the summer and who have said absolutely. If there's a presentation topic that I can speak to, I'm happy to do so. Offices such as student activities, recreation, staff, campus recreation, athletics, sustainability. There's a host. I hope not to leave any out, especially meetings, events, and conferences, and so forth. Marketing and communication. It's a host of people. Yes. So forgive me if I've forgotten anybody.
Well, that's why I raised it, because all three of us are so grateful for all those people that make a difference. I'm sure we do leave somebody out, but all the people on buildings and grounds that make the buildings look clean, and the grass cut, and the flowers are so beautiful. Yesterday, it was so great to hear Dr. Jennifer Tilo Bunton do kind of the initial talk for the first year convocation. So maybe you could talk a little bit about some of the. Oh, yes, please.
One thing to that, which is most of it is in person, which we're really delighted by, but our Office of Technology, and I don't know if you said that, I wasn't totally tracking all those thank yous. But especially this, always,
Yes.
they do incredible work this week with with microphones and all that, but especially when we're broadcasting things, and they've just done an incredible job of making this available to all.
Yeah, it's just hundreds and
week.
hundreds of people behind the scenes that for, the parents, all the students, they should be aware how grateful we are for all these people working. So maybe some of the highlights for you, maybe you could even talk about I was really looking forward to this and it exceeded my expectations, or, because obviously if you start in May and June, you're like, oh, that's going to be a good one. Somebody comes up with this idea. And so give me a little bit of the highlights for you of the so far, and maybe also some of the highlights of, I can't wait to see how this one goes.
So aside from the beautiful first year convocation that happened yesterday, just absolutely beautiful. So aside from that particular event, a highlight that occurred, and in fact occurred yesterday and today, was the academic sessions that took place during Welcome Week, which is a new initiative. The thought process behind that was to offer sessions and information about what students might need after being remote learners for over a year. So that is definitely a highlight. And I would also say a highlight has been the commuter scavenger hunt. I keep talking about it. I think I've talked about it all week. It was exciting to see over 100 commuter students come on campus on Monday and find their way across campus.
So tell me about that. What was the scavenger hunt like? Give me a sense of what did I have to scavenge if I was a commuter student?
Sure, I needed to go to the College of Business and find the Entrepreneurial Center, right? The Stall Entrepreneur Center. If I'm a commuter student, I need to figure out where the registrar's office is. Right. Where is the den? So the students had, of course, a host of clues, if you will, and had to navigate in the hot weather on Monday. But the feedback, just as I was walking across campus, of course, I asked a few students how was it, but you could just hear them conversing with one another how cool that was and how glad they were to experience the campus in that way.
Yeah,
so
it's really great.
Certainly a highlight.
And you mentioned it, but one of the cool things about that is that they probably have to talk to each other to get
figure
help
it out
and collaborate in order to get through that scavenger hunt.
Absolutely, and they were in teams. I think there were 4 or 5 teams, and they really worked together. And many did not know each other, of course, before being here. So,
and I just want to underline, Dr. Kelly's point about academic preparation, because that is something we talked about really in depth. All last year is trying to be attentive to what students were going through, especially high school students, but also students at community colleges, being fully remote and so on, and discovering learning challenges that had not been unearthed before through this COVID-19 pandemic and remote learning. And so I'm so glad and grateful to Kristi and to all the people who worked on that, but the faculty who were able to come out and provide that extra help. And we really extended the week because of this, right? So the Welcome Week is longer this year in large part because we built in that added support that we've assumed or felt like our students needed before the beginning of the semester. So that is a great experiment, sort of, that we may continue even into the future as we discover new things about what our students need in the transition into university life.
So what are you excited that's still to come, right? It's Thursday afternoon, it's noon. We got tonight, I know there's stuff going on tonight, tomorrow, the whole weekend, which is filled with activities, and then Monday, first day of class, but there's stuff going on even that first week because then all of our students are here, not just the first year students and the sophomores. So what are you excited about in the coming week?
Sure. So as you mentioned, there are programs and events and activities through the weekend. There are signature programs that we've done traditionally year after year. And so I'm looking forward to the organization fair that's going to happen on Sunday, well after Mass and things of that nature. So encouraging students to come out and get familiar with other students who are leading organizations and activities across campus. And then there'll actually be an opportunity for not only students that are currently on campus to participate over the weekend, but the following week on, I believe it's September 1st, there'll be a second organization fair that will also include campus resources. So offices across campus will also be available to share with students what they do.
So you might not know the exact number. I certainly don't know the exact number, but I know it's big. But give me a sense of how many clubs and organizations there are. I mean, because I think for students, I mean, if you're like a first year student and you're whatever coming from Bolingbrook High School and you might say, oh, there might be 15 campus clubs and organizations? And I know it's way,
Yep.
that's why I say 15.
Yes.
So give me a sense. How many possibilities are there for me?
There are about 75 student clubs and organizations, and they vary from being, I won't say athletic, but having a component of recreation to ethnically or culturally related organizations. There's a host, and some are connected to academic programs. So there are about 75, give or take, give or take.
Lots of things to do.
One other thing, I think, again, I'm not sure if you mentioned, is when I'm looking at the calendar, the schedule, which I also have on my calendar, and it's overwhelming, is that there's a ton of delicious sounding food being served.
Yes, how can we forget the food?
And it's always,
Come on.
there's a lot of alliteration. Taco Tuesday.
Yes.
something,
I went to Taco Tuesday and got my picture taken with a taco
I
shirt
saw
on.
it.
Yeah,
I
did
saw
you? Did you? All right. So there we
I
go.
saw it.
Good, yeah.
So
and
tell
it's-
us about the food.
Sure. Well, and here's it's kind of answering a question you've asked, but it is answering the food question. So there's a concert on Friday night where we'll have food trucks, so vendors who will be giving tacos once again.
Yeah, that's
There's
okay.
ice cream treats and cold treats, and there's also just some not so healthy food. I don't want to say it, but not so healthy food.
Well, hey, it's one way to start the freshman 15, right? I mean,
Yes.
yes,
Lots
it
of
is.
those clubs are sports clubs.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Exercise
You can
is
burn it
available.
off in the club hockey, but you can start it this
That's so
weekend.
funny.
So, who's the concert?
Sure.
Who's playing?
Funny enough, the group is called the Student Body.
Oh, that's perfect.
The student body, and our students, and I don't want to forget our students in this whole planning process,
Yeah.
have given input. And
Sure.
so the student body will perform on Friday night. And then there's also a carnival. So speaking of food and more activity to do, there's also a carnival.
Wow,
Right, yeah.
wow, that just sounds like a great evening. And Ken, just because Kenny, I know that the majority of people that are on campus right now are, that is for Friday night, will be first-year students, sophomores, athletes, RAs, other people that had to, help out with the. But is anybody welcome? So if I'm a senior, can I come to this concert?
Absolutely.
Can I take advantage of the food trucks?
Absolutely.
All right. okay.
Absolutely.
So we just
can.
want to make sure that
Good
they're
question,
they're
yeah.
aware of that. Good.
Absolutely. We wanted something for everybody, and especially in terms of students. And that includes our graduate level students too.
Sure,
Don't want to leave them
exactly.
out. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we have a lot of graduate students who, of course, live off campus, come here mostly in the evenings. But, whether you're a returning grad student or a new grad student, if you just want to get a sense of the campus alive, I guess what I would say, come on Friday night, have some food, concert, playing some carnival games. It should be a fun evening.
Yes.
And we have grad students who do live on campus.
And we have
who are
grad students who
very
live on
much
campus,
invited
of course.
to come.
Of course.
I'm going to change this. So first of all, the askus@lewisu.edu email address is on the screen. If you have any questions about Welcome Week for Dr. Kelly or questions about COVID or anything, please take advantage of that while we're still here. But I'm going to change the subject a little
Okay,
bit.
okay.
So earlier this week, at our employee staff and faculty convocation day, you led an afternoon session with Dr. Shackmuth, who was our guest last week, called 5 Ways to Reinforce Student Belonging and Flourishing This Fall. And I'm just curious if you could talk a little bit about what that is. You don't have to give us all the 5 ways, but
Sure.
that was staff and employees actually had to choose between going to things, and that was an in-person event and so on. So some people might want to know what you were talking about and they weren't able to come. And then also it might be interesting to others just sort of what we're talking about when we talk about supporting students.
Sure. So it goes back to what Welcome Week is for, what Convocation is for, community, belonging. And so our conversation really centered around, and what came out of it too, supporting students, but supporting one another as colleagues in civility, that we are all LaSallian educators. And so we're more than employees. And for one another will be respectful and kind and collaborative. And for students, we will show up and be there for them, and perhaps one of many trusted adults that they can rely on through their, their career at Lewis University, their college career. So that was one of the 5 ways in which to help students with their belongingness. And Kurt and I, we had that conversation during the session. I actually picked on Dave in the session.
Shock. Yeah, well, but I did want to say, Kristi, that I went to the session, really enjoyed it. It was very informational for me, but also not just, I learned some things, but I also felt really good about the commitments that we are making as an organization to each other and to our students. And I want to, underline something that you just said, which is that, because I said in my address at first year convocation, I was talking about how I have friends still, very close friends, some of my closest friends, and I was I hate to say this, I was a freshman almost 40 years ago. So it's been 40 years since I was a freshman, which makes me way too old. But also, you find some of your mentors, which I want to go back to this trusted adult. So not only do you make the best friends for your life, but for some of our students, whether undergraduate students over the next 4 years, or for some of our graduate students over the next couple years, people are going to find mentors that they will turn to at times in their career. So they're trusted adults for these 4 years, which is what you're talking about. But they're going to be trusted adults maybe for the next 20 years. And when they're like, should I switch jobs, 6, 7 years after they graduate, they might call. I'm thinking of the person behind the camera who I always like to thank, but John Kilpatrick, somebody might call him and say, I got this first job and I'm in Peoria, but I have an opportunity to go to Kansas City and be in front of the, be on a bigger network. Should I do it? And those kind of mentors, those relationships that are built with these trusted adults make one feel that they belong to this community now. But we have 60,000 alumni and they make them feel like they belong to this community even after they graduate, which I think is a really powerful thing about belongingness, which I didn't know was a word, but learned
That's
that.
so interesting that you talked about that, because at some point in the preparation for this week, I'm always in this position of editing statements and documents, and I remember crossing off that "ness" at the end of that word. So I'm glad you talked
it in
about
there.
that. Somebody put it back in after I erased it.
I didn't put it back in, but and I'm pretty sure I know who put it back in, but yeah.
Yeah. So other ways. We also talked about Lewis as a sanctified zone, right? A safe space. So you talk about, when students have graduated and they reach back to the institution, they have felt safe on campus and again, welcome on campus, regardless of where they come from and what they have. And so our commitment to being that space, and being a campus that we recognize we won't be free of bias because we all have biases, but making sure that we're open and appreciative of our unique stories. And so that was one of the ways in which we talked about supporting students in their sense of belonging and flourishing. Yeah.
Wonderful. So that's a kind of foundational element of our approach to student support and student life. The Welcome Week in a lot of ways is also a kind of foundation for what was really going to happen the whole semester and beyond into the whole year. So I guess our last little series of questions might be about, what's in store for the fall semester in terms of student life, student recreation, the clubs that we talked about, and what did we learn from last year and that's moving into the future.
Sure. I think the biggest takeaway is how we communicate with students to let them know what's happening and what may be of interest to them, recognizing that all that we offer may not apply to every single student, but making sure that our communication to them is consolidated, it's concise, and while we want to inundate them with multiple means of communication, we have since created, based on feedback from last year's student feedback, We have created Life at Lewis U, which is an Instagram following that students can take advantage of. We really just launched it probably a week ago or so, and we already have 600 followers. So in addition to Welcome Week and moving forward, all the things that'll happen as a result of Student Life, students can follow our page, if you will. And it's not just Student Life, the division, right? It's Student Life all across campus.
Right.
Those offices that I mentioned earlier, and then some, have come together to supply a central location for students to log into and see all of the external things outside of the classroom that are happening. So,
And then the name of it again is
sure, Life at Lewis U.
Life at Lewis U.
Yes, on Instagram.
Instagram.
Life at Lewis U on Instagram. All right, that's great.
That's so great. And I remember last year we looked at surveys from students in the middle of the pandemic year, and that communication was one of the big issues that came up there. And so I'm so delighted that we're responding to that. Also, in the subtext of what you're saying is I think we really learned last year how to serve transfer students, commuter students, and graduate students in new ways that really brings the whole community, that differentiates those different individual students and where they're coming from in their lives, but also gives us a way to do things with the whole student community. So I'm really excited about that.
It's great. Well, I think that's good with me. Yes,
I'm okay. Yeah.
All right.
Thank
So
you.
I just want to say thank you to Dr. Kelly for joining us today. I am excited about the next 16 weeks will be, as Chris said, filled with so many activities that Dr. Kelly and her team are going to put together, from club sports to NCAA sports, theater, art, everything in between, clubs and organizations that are going to have their events, and of course all sorts of food that come with. I feel like each month there's some major thing that comes up relative to food. So on behalf of Chris and myself, I really hope that you have a great rest of your day. A reminder that there is no show next week. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody walking around campus. So have a great weekend. Safe travels for everybody who is traveling to campus over the next 4 or 5 days before our start on Monday. And God bless you and your family. Have a great week.